Welcome to 1.3 Property Insurance. So we're looking at different aspects of our house, looked at mortgages and how long it takes us to pay off those mortgages. Now let's look at protecting our property. Property insurance protects us in case of total loss. Now total loss is a unique term for the industry. It doesn't mean that I have to actually no longer have the object. Someone steals it. Someone steals my TV, I have property insurance, but it also will protect me in terms of damages. So if my TV is damaged, I can claim it through property insurance. There are two types of insurance we have to look at depending on our living situation. The first one is tenants insurance. This is used by renters. And tenants insurance protects the belongings that I own inside the building. My TV, my bed, my jewelry. It does not actually protect the building itself. Because I do not own the building, I don't protect it. The person who owns the building needs to have their own insurance. Now, if I actually do own the building, I can buy house insurance. And this will protect me both the belongings and the building that I own. So if I have house insurance, I protect my TV, my bed, my jewelry, plus the windows, doors, and walls of the house that I own. So we'll look at these two individually. First one we're going to look at is our tenants insurance. So we'll also need to use those charts that go with this unit. The tenants insurance, we start by adding up the value of my belongings. This determines how much insurance I want to buy. So I take my TV, I take my jewelry, my bed, and I add that total together. Then I have to decide on the type of insurance. Do I want a standard policy or do I want a comprehensive policy? Standard is very basic. It covers me for theft, fire. Comprehensive is a little wider coverage. It'll cover me against damages. Another difference is that as I own my property, it'll decrease in value. I buy my TV for $1,000, but now 6 years later, it's only worth $400. If I have a standard coverage, then they will only give me its value, which would be the $400. If I have comprehensive coverage, they will give me enough money to go buy that same product new. So they'll give me the $1,000 cost to replace it. It's called value coverage compared to replacement coverage. Once we know the value of our belongings and the type of coverage we want, we go to our charts. So let's pull our charts out. This is Table 4, the tenants package. And of course, this is for all areas of Manitoba. We've got three columns here. We start with the amount of coverage we want. So this chart goes from 25,000 to 75,000. And then I've got my standard annual amount and my comprehensive annual amount. So let's just say I need a $50,000 package. I come across to 50,000, and for a standard package, it's $254 every single year. If I'd like the comprehensive policy, it'd be $324,000 every year. These are annual amounts that get paid once a year. So for a tenants package, we can simply read the chart. We then have to do one more thing. Let's go back to our notes here, and we're going to talk about our amount of deductible. Now, deductible is a little unique idea. It's the amount of money that you need to pay before the insurance company will pay the rest. Now, the insurance company doesn't want you to make a claim every time your $20 alarm clock breaks. So they want to make sure it's a large claim. They don't want to be bogged down for the entire time. They will have two options. You can buy a policy with a $500 deductible, or you can buy a $200 deductible. So let's think about this idea of deductible. Let's say there was a $10,000 damage to my property. If I have a $500 deductible, that means I pay $500, and the insurance company, well, they would pay $9,500. Now I'm going to switch colors here for a quick sec, and let's say I've got the $200 deductible. Well, if there's that $10,000 worth of damage, I pay $200, and the insurance company pays $9,800. So this idea is that the $500 deductible costs the insurance company less, so it will be cheaper. The $200 deductible costs the insurance company more, so they're going to charge you more. In fact, they're going to increase this amount by 10%. So you ask yourself, how much value belongings do you have? The type of insurance? You go read the chart, and then you decide, do I want the $500 deductible or the $200 deductible? If it's $200, you increase by 10%. Let's move on to the house insurance. Now the house insurance is a little more difficult. The insurance companies have realized over the years that one of the major causes of claims is fire damage. So they determine the amount of insurance, or they determine the amount of insurance based on how close you are to a fire hydrant or a fire hall. So we start with the step one, and we got how much insurance we want to buy. This is a little tricky because you have to insure both the building and your belongings. So you've got to take the value of your house and your belongings into consideration and add them together. If my house is $210,000 and I have to estimate my belongings at say $40,000, the amount of insurance I would need would be added together, so $250,000. So it's not just the house and it's not just the belongings, it's combined. Next thing you ask yourself, again, is the type of insurance, standard or comprehensive. Living in Manitoba, flood damage is a major concern, and most companies will only give flood damage under a comprehensive package. The next thing they do is ask how close you are to a fire hydrant. So they break the province into 4 areas. Area 1 is Metro Winnipeg, and I only put Winnipeg on there because that's what the chart actually says. If you're in any metro area that has a fire department with fire hydrants, you're looking at Area 1. I'm thinking of Brandon, Portage, etc. Area 2, if you are less than 1,000 meters from a fire hydrant. The fire hydrant maybe is not on your neighbor's place, but it's within 1,000 meters of your property, you'll be Area 2. Now, Area 3 is usually for communities that don't have fire hydrants, but they are fairly close to a fire station. So in Area 3, the fire trucks will take a little time to get there, and they'll probably have to truck in their water, but they are fairly close. Finally is Area 4, greater than 10K from a fire station. It'll take the trucks a little bit of time to get there, and it'll be much more difficult to pump in the water. So once we have our 3 steps, the amount we need, our type of insurance, and how close we are to that fire station, what area we are, we go to our charts. And let's go pull up our charts. If we flip the page, we should get our Manitoba Homeowners Insurance. So again, we've got the $500 deductible by reading the chart. If we want $200, we would increase that by 10%. A little more difficult chart to read here. We still have our amounts running down the left-hand side, but then we have to decide on our area. Metro Winnipeg, 2, 3, or 4, and then inside that area determine standard or comprehensive. So if I want a $170,000 policy, if I'm in Area 4 with standard insurance, I come Area 4 in standard, realize the column I'm in, 120,000, go across, go across, go across, and I have $810 every year. So this is a little more difficult chart, but if you look at it, it kind of makes sense. The amounts, the area, and then the type. Read the amount for a $500 deductible, increase it by 10% for our $200 deductible. Let's look at an example. Bill. Bill lives 500 meters from a fire hydrant. Okay, right there, that's telling us a bit of information. Let's choose our area. Well, 500 meters from a fire hydrant, we're looking at area 2. So the first thing I like to do is type in or write down area 2. The value of his house, $195,000. What is his annual premiums if he wants comprehensive? I'm going to underline that. And a $200 deductible. Okay, let's look at step 1. How much insurance do we need? Well, we definitely need the $195,000 for the house. Then we ask ourselves, how much do we want in belongings? Now, there aren't any absolute correct answers here. There's only wrong answers. If you tell me $500 for belongings, I'd probably question that. If you said he wants $1 million for belongings, I'd probably question that as well. So what's the average amount? Well, let's say 200, or let's say $20,000 for his belongings. That might be a bit low, but it works. So how much insurance do we actually want? We want $215,000 of insurance. So that was step 1. Now let's look at step 2. Step 2 is the type. Well, our question says we want comprehensive. So we have a comprehensive policy. Step 3 is determining the area. So we already saw that we are 500 meters from a fire hydrant, so we're area 2. So let's turn to our charts. First thing I like to do is find area 2 and area 2 comprehensive. So we're going to run with this column here. So we said we wanted $215,000 of insurance. We come down the amount, and $215,000, we have a problem. Our chart only goes up to $200,000. But we do have this little bit at the bottom here that says for every extra $1,000, we're going to add 303 to this. So we start by taking the highest value we have at 200,000 being 571. So for 200,000, our insurance is 571. But now we want some extra insurance. We want an extra 15,000. Let's go back to our chart for a sec. So for every block of $1,000 of extra coverage, we're going to add 303. So how many blocks do we need? Well, we need 15 of these extra blocks, and we're going to times that by 303. So our extra insurance is going to be $45.45. 15 times 303 is 45. So what's our annual insurance now? We're going to add these together. So this comes to $616.45. So for our $500 deductible, we would be asked to pay $616.45 each year. But now we have to do step number 4. Step 4 says the amount deductible, and we want a 200. So we're going to have to increase this by 10%. Increase by 10%. Now I'm going to show you 2 ways to do this. The first way is to take your amount, 616.45, and times it by 0.10, which of course is 10%. When you do the math, you get an answer of $61.65. So when I've calculated my 10%, I add that back to my total, and my answer here is 0, carry the 1, carry the 1, $678.10. So we've taken our total, found what 10% of that is, and then increased it. If you like, you do have an option, and I'll change colors here, just simply to take the 616.45 and times it by 1.10. And if you do that, you will also get 678.10. So here we look at our basic question. We look at a area, a house value. We determine the amount for belongings. We look at the type, comprehensive, and the deductible. Step 1, 2, 3, read the chart. Do step 4, final answer. Now we can turn to our workbook and work on some questions for property insurance. You should have about 4 questions for tenants insurance and 3 questions for homeowners insurance. In both cases, you're going to have to give me the amounts for both the 500 deductible and the 200 deductible.